From the wind-swept deserts and arid tundra of Thanalan, to the ancient primeval forests of Gridania, to the seaside cliffs of La Noseca infused with the very soul of piracy, the more exotic locales, awash in wonder and mystery. Eorzea is a land of myriad stories and even more secrets to discover. Join me, fellow scholars, as we undertake a grand endeavor. Now, it is time for Explaining Eorzea. Now, pay attention, class. It's time to start our lessons on the history of Eorzea. To fully understand the realm of Eorzea, one must first delve into her past and witness the violent cycle of birth and destruction which forged this land from darkness. We'll start with the First Umbral Era, known as the Calamity of Wind in some of our oldest tomes. Eorzea is characterized by elemental calamities, which plunge the realm into short, yet harrowing periods of chaos known as Umbral Era. You must remember from our previous lessons that there are astral heavens and umbral hells, and this is an extension of that nomenclature. Followed by extended periods of prosperity known as Astral Era. What then, you may ask, of the land before the first calamity struck? Drawing from songs and writings of countless civilizations, theologians believe prehistory to be a tempestuous time of uncontrolled creation overseen by mercurial god or gods, creation which abruptly ends with the destruction of all that exists, ultimately allowing for the rise of mankind from the wreckage. Historians and scholars of biological fields, on the other hand, claim that mankind could not have simply appeared, and suggest that an evolution of species in the thousand years preceding the first calamity. What the two groups do, however, agree upon is that modern history begins with the First Umbral Era and the Calamity of Wind. Now, the advent of the Calamity of Wind, as we've taken to naming it, is a recent development in academia. It was not until the advent of the Sixth Umbral Era that, by the process of elimination, scholars were able to declare with certainty that the elemental calamity which ushered in the First Umbral Era was indeed connected in some way with wind, possibly in the form of terrible hurricanes, tempests, tornadoes, maelstroms, typhoons, and the like. In addition, recent dealings with the Mughals of Mogholm, in which village elders have spoken of a wind-driven disaster previous to the first 5 calamities, serve to further reinforce this theory. Now, I know what some of you are going to say, but Professor, the beast tribes don't have the same academic rigor as we do here in Sharlayan, and while that is true, we must understand that we can take their accounts as anecdotal evidence, and in some cases, a lens through which to view events that we can then later apply our academic rigors to. It is not that they are wrong, it is that they view the world through a different lens, and we should not be quick to dismiss those who have different outlooks than ourselves. After all, the Warrior of Light recently showed us that we can find another way. And we all know what that way was. Inevitably, inexorably, the wheel of the cosmos spins on, and we transition from the First Umbral Era to the First Astral Era. A time of stone and fire. It is during the First Astral Era that mankind is believed to have learned the essentials of survival, the ability to carve stone tools, and the ability to make fire. Tools allowed for the rise of agriculture and a departure from hunting and gathering, which eventually resulted in the abandonment of the nomadic lifestyles and saw the establishment of villages and towns. And these towns blossomed and blossomed and blossomed, and we'll go over more of that, but eventually it is due to the time directly in the First Astral Era that you, dear students, are sitting in this class taught by an extremely competent and, may I say, charismatic professor. But I want you to take a moment and think about this. During the First Umbral Era, mankind was acted upon and was fearful and trembling in the dark. And with the advent of the First Astral Era, there was a time where mankind stood up and said, "No, I will impose my will upon the world." Now, some may say that's very analogous to what Gaius Van Belsar said. And in some ways, you could read it that way at a superficial level, but this is more about an existential thing where mankind steps into its potential, or at least takes the first steps towards fulfilling its potential, some of which I'm sure you students will carry on and carry forward. However, with these towns, civilization thrived, and basic sciences such as animal husbandry and simple metallurgy were discovered and refined. As these towns grew, so did the hegemonies that oversaw the towns, until finally kingdoms were born. And as we know, monarchy is one of the most rudimentary forms of government. We in Charlian tend to use a little bit of scholarly democracy, and quite frankly, in my opinion, I think it would be better if we did away with the monarchies, but, well, everyone is tied to their traditions, even us, and I would hesitate to get rid of the forum, even if given the opportunity and proven for something better. However, kings, as is often their wont, are rarely content with what they have, and soon the leaders of newly formed countries abandon the creation of tools for the forging of weapons, and the era descended into blood-stained madness. There are many great wars that have happened throughout the ages, and one of the saddest things that have happened, students, is that all of the potential artisans, creation, leaders, innovators, they were snuffed out due to one person's greed and the power over others. So if you ever question why the Charlians maintain neutrality, it is because of that. We see that knowledge is lost, and we do everything we can to preserve it. And in that some small way, I am preserving the knowledge by passing it on to you. Examining cave paintings dating all the way back to the First Astral Era show images of men equipped with picks and axes making short work of nature's bounty. In fact, it is common theory among historians now that mankind attacked their surrounding environment with an overwhelming zeal of industry. That's why we find so many ancient tools and things that are carved in certain sites, such as around Mordona. We also can see the existence of hundreds of now lost species, from the two-headed bison to the winged curl-like scalekin to furs reaching over 1,000 yalms in height. Imagine that! How many people could be housed with the wood of that? Now, if we see a 10-yalm tree, we're like, oh, that's quite a tall tree. It seems to be quite old. So there's something lost about that ancient Anduvelian era. And I, for one, if temporal magic was stronger, would love to visit, as I'm sure some of you would. Imagine the fascinating things you could find. So on that, it's time for homework. Your essay assignment, before we get to the next class, is of course to write what you think you would find if you were to go back to the First Astral Era. Remember, you can check out reference material in the library, but there are only so many copies. So partner up, work on your projects, and I will see you in the next class. That was the video on the First Eras, both Umbral and Astral. Tell me what you think of the video in the comments below. Did you learn something new about Eorzea? And of course, I know I did when I was reading through it, and I added my own little flourish, as you could probably tell. There will be many, many more lore videos done about Eorzea and Final Fantasy XIV because it's a very rich world with a lot to explore. So look forward to that. If you like what I do, or you like what the channel does in specific, go on and hit subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with everything the channel does. It helps out the channel immensely, and we are closing in on 1,500 subscribers and 100,000 channel views. I never thought I'd be able to say that, so I honestly feel pretty good about that. In addition, I've been told I should plug this more often. I stream on Twitch every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Friday and Sunday, we do Final Fantasy XIV, and Saturday is a wildcard stream. We open up the Discord, we play something other than Final Fantasy XIV. It's a great time, and you can find all of that at twitch.tv/Nimicry. If you'd like to have a longer conversation with me, there is a link to my Discord in the description down below, where we have longer conversations and sometimes just chat among friends. If you're social media minded, you can follow me on Twitter at Nimicry, and I answer everything I can there as I see it. Finally, for those who wish to go truly above and beyond, who have the Echo and are warriors of light, there is Patreon. Patreon is the absolute best way to support the channel if you decide to do so financially, and it is always appreciated. You can support for as little as $1 a month, and patrons always get access to my videos early, in addition to a few other perks. You can find all of that information and more at patreon.com/Nimicry. There's a list of patrons scrolling on the screen right now, so thank them, those wonderful, wonderful people. I appreciate their support. This was a fun video to make. I'm glad that I was able to do it. this semester in university is kicking my butt. Abnormal psychology is no joke, because there's a lot to learn, and the Pearson textbooks don't exactly make it easy. So I'm learning all that while being an engineer during the day and streaming as I can and all that at night. So if you're watched this far, thank you very much. I'll continue to do my best and continue to do my best to entertain and inform you. May the mount you're farming drop on the first kill. Bye.